What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Ready to Love. This is season 7. Of course, it's Miami, and we are going to be talking about episode 12. The episode is titled Too Much Baggage, and let's get right into it. First things first, you already know it's the men's turn, and we are going to be meeting up in the lounge with Tommy. Tommy lets the guys know that they're going to be introducing the ladies to their family members, so we shall see how this episode goes. Alright, y'all, so we actually have 2 dates going on at the same time, and that's going to be Tony and Morgan, as well as Anthony and Cynthia. But let me just go ahead and talk about Tony and Morgan first. If Morgan don't say nothing about Tony, she is going to say that he's a man's man. I feel like she has used that phrase so many times on this show. Now, according to Morgan, she says that their biggest issue is him coming down from that whole macho man mode that he's in. And, sometimes I guess his aggressiveness and his anger, it gets, pretty high up there. And she wants him to calm down, basically. And I'm just like, you think that's the only issue that y'all got? Baby, y'all have a lot of issues. Because y'all two should not be together. Do I think that they probably slept together? Probably. Do I think that Morgan is controlling? I sure do. Do I think Tony is controlling? I sure do. And I also think that they don't need to be together. Because as much as we have talked about how bad Tony is, Morgan ain't no better. So when Morgan mentions to Tony's sister, who I must say looks just like him, but she's really pretty, she mentions to her how she thinks that they need to go to counseling so that they can work on their communication skills. He's not even your man. So what are we going to counseling for? I'm sorry, I absolutely agree with Tony's sister. I've never heard of a couple trying to go to counseling before they're even a couple. I just think that they need to go ahead and let it go. Your energy and his energy does not match up, Morgan. Y'all are both two hotheads. Y'all both are controlling. And it's a battle of who is going to be the most dominant personality, and it's just not going to work. Now, we're going to talk about them a little bit later, so let me just slide on over to Anthony and Cynthia. According to Anthony, he feels like everything's going well with Cynthia. However, he does not care for her baby daddy. He does not care for James. So he does let his cousin know who's going to meet Cynthia. I don't really mess with her baby daddy like that because his energy is off. So when Cynthia comes in, of course, they greet each other. Everything is cool, but the cousin is like, so what's up with your baby daddy? And she's like, you don't even have to worry about that. He's not going to cause any problems because anything that has to get handled, it will get handled. AKA, Cynthia is letting you know that she puts her foot down when it comes to James. So that actually makes me wonder, did she actually tell James to come in and grill these dudes? Because I'm starting to think that maybe she told him to go ahead and grill him, ask him the hard questions, and James went a little bit overboard, even though I'm glad he got Andre up out of there. I will say overall, Cynthia did quite well on this date because Anthony's cousin ended up really liking her. The cousin actually was like, if you can get this man out of the house, we learned that Anthony is pretty much more of a homebody, but I can actually see him being a homebody because his life seems like it's very structured, as in, I go to work, I pick my kid up, I cook dinner for my kid, spend some time with her, put her to bed, I'm going to bed. Like, I feel like he's probably very routine. So maybe with Cynthia, that might add a little spice to his life. But let's go ahead and move on, because now we got to get to Andre. First things first, his family are clearly not going to like the ladies. Because once that man mentioned how both the ladies have children, his sister was like, I don't like that. I don't like it at all. And I feel like the reason why his sister does not like the idea of Andre dating a woman with children is the fact that he does not have children on his own. According to him, he's made it to Forbes. He's very successful, right? I feel like there's a thought process of, if you meet a woman, she has kids, you're going to end up having to pay for those kids, take care of those kids, all of those things, and they're not even yours. And I feel like that's where the sister is coming from. Like, you're successful. Why would you want to take care of children that are not yours? But at the end of the day, you have to look at the picture differently. I feel like he could come into the situation saying, hey, I have the success, I have the money, I have all those things. However, I have a lot of love that I can not only provide to the woman that I want to be with, but as well as provide love to her children. You know what I'm saying? I think that sometimes the mindset of people, when they think of a person being a single parent, it's automatically negative, as if the person is trying to come up off the person who has money. But let's just go ahead and get into what actually happens on the date. So, first question that they actually ask is, oh, well, you have children. Are you open to having more children? Because you already know he doesn't have any. And she's like, yeah, I'm open to having 2 more kids as well as a dog. I'm like, all right, cool. Next thing you know, Jeffrey walks in. Baby, this is the most clothes we have ever seen Jeffrey wear. She looked like she was about to go to church. I'm like, what is going on? I guess she realized that she couldn't just always wear her Lululemon pants or the crop top, so she had to put on real clothes. I don't know. So even in the confessional, Cynthia was being a little bit shady towards Jeffrey. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe at this point in the process, they were over each other. Or maybe there was something that was said because, yeah, they've been a little shady. Jeffrey, according to her, in her confessional, she says that she didn't even realize that Cynthia would be there. I'm just like, did you not realize that this man had 2 connections? No? It was just about you, Jeffrey? Okay, girl. Now listen, I do not like Jeffrey. I don't. However, one thing that I will say is that I did not like the way his sister came at Jeffrey, because she basically told her, you have 3 kids. You are a liability. I say, a liability? Wait a second. What's the difference between her and Cynthia? Because Cynthia has 2 children. You mean to tell me one more makes it a liability, sweetheart? Then on top of that, you're questioning Jeffrey about what she can bring to the table and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, but all because your brother doesn't have children or whatever? Like, is that supposed to put him 15 steps above these women? I'm not understanding. So when it comes to the ladies actually explaining, what they bring to the table, because that was a question of the sister, you have Jeffrey saying that she is everything that any man could want. I said, first of all, that was not the answer to the question. Secondly, you have Cynthia there, and she says, she has her businesses, she has all these things going on for her, basically saying, I already have my own money, so don't have to worry about that. I take care of my kids, they're good, and I just need a partner, basically. I will say this. In this entire situation, my question is to his family. Why didn't we ask him after the date? So you didn't have no interest in any women that didn't have children? Like, what's your thing? Like, has he dated women with children before? Like, what's going on here for your family to respond to them in this way? Like, I just don't see it as this huge red flag that these women have children the way that they're acting. But you know what? I actually wonder if Andre is the only boy in the family. Because y'all know how sometimes you have those families that are so protective of the boys in the family. Even when they're grown, they act like these men can't do any wrong. Every woman that they date is a problem. And no woman is never going to be good enough for their brother, because their brother is a king and we are lucky to even have his presence on earth. Y'all know the types that I'm talking about. I feel like that's the vibe that I'm getting right here. So when it's all said and done, the ladies feel like it went, well, Cynthia felt like it went all right for her, but she didn't really appreciate the questions that the sister had. Not so much the niece. Jeffrey, I don't think that Jeffrey even liked this whole situation. She didn't like being there with Cynthia. The family made her feel some type of way because she felt like they were throwing daggers at her. Because not only does she have 3 children, but her children's father are not even active in the kid's life. They're not, which really sucks. But according to the family, they would choose Cynthia out of the 2, but they don't like either one. His sister was adamant that she does not like either one of these women. And it's because they have children and Andre does not. That's crazy to me. Let's go ahead and move on. Alright, y'all. Let's get into this date with Tony and Morgan. First of all, when they're getting there or whatever, So Tony basically said that he was blindsided by Morgan when it came to her mentioning how they need to go to counseling. So clearly that is not something that they talked about previously. Secondly, when you have Morgan getting there, she says something along the lines about how, oh, because, he's put me in a compromising situation with another woman. And I'm like, are we still talking about Marcia? Because Marcia's long gone. Oh, baby, we are not talking about Marcia. Alright, so first things first, Morgan has trust issues when it comes to Tony. She doesn't know if she can ever trust what he says or what he does because she just don't be believing him, clearly. And according to her, he has done things that are not becoming of a man. I say, see, here's the thing. Morgan is always going to throw a dagger, throw something at Tony, and it's annoying at this point. I'm tired of her always disrespecting this man, saying he don't have home training. He should have been raised better. You should have got more whippings. You're not acting like you are this and that. I'm tired of that. Like, it's degrading at this point. Because every time she does it, especially when she does it in front of people, it's like it's her putting him in his place. It's very strange. It's like a mother talking to her child. And I don't mean a good one either. And y'all, you already know I do not like Morgan. And what she did in this scene, I was over it. She said, let's back up to day one when you had your entanglement with Natasha. Y'all, Natasha went home first. Why are we even talking about Natasha? This is something that should have never made it to air. This is something that should have never been a thing because Natasha is not there to defend herself. Her actions say what is true, what's not true. I don't like this. And also I heard that for their reunion, nobody saw the episodes. I heard that they filmed this reunion right after they taped. So nobody even knows who has said what about them. I'm just like, are you kidding me? So we're not going to even address this? Hopefully she does like an interview to say her piece with somebody because this is completely out of line. For Morgan to sit up here, not only disrespect her, but she continued to disrespect Natasha this entire scene. I just could not believe that this is what I was watching. But let me go ahead and tell y'all what happened. So Natasha goes home, right? But her and Tony, they made some type of connection. So they stayed in touch or whatever. He probably took her out a few times. They end up hooking up. Okay, whatever. They're grown. Regardless of the fact that Tony was still in this process, and yes, he had his connections with Marcia and Morgan and whoever else that he picked up on the side, at the end of the day, he has not committed to anybody. If he decided to walk away from this show on this episode and say, you know what, I'm choosing myself, who's to say he's not still dating Natasha? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just hate the fact that Morgan is throwing this out here in the middle of nowhere talking about something because I don't want to be out here looking stupid. Girl, who's thinking that you're looking stupid? First of all, you're doing that on your own. I don't even need Tony for that. But on top of that, you still chasing after a man who has treated you badly, talks to you crazy, even though all he's doing is reciprocating the same energy that you give him every time you see him. And then on top of that, you gonna throw a whole nother woman under the bus just because she slept with the man that you probably sleeping with? Girl, get out of here. You doing all of this, and this man has not committed to you. He's not even your boyfriend. Hell, he's just a friend at this point. Like, it was really frustrating for me to watch this episode, especially this scene, for her to try to dog Natasha out and say that he reached for the lowest hanging fruit. I'm like, it's so funny because this is the second time that she's mentioned low hanging fruit. Or maybe it was Marcia last time, but that is not a phrase that people say that often. So I feel like they probably had conversations about this. Y'all remember when they said this to Anthony, how he was reaching for the low-hanging fruit because he was interested in Cynthia and Mercedes and not them? I think it's crazy that now you're saying that Natasha was a low-hanging fruit just because she went home first. Girl, no, her man was not at that damn show. But it's actually kind of funny because clearly she pulled the guy that you were interested in because you're still chasing Tony down on the show, girl. Now, another thing that annoyed me, the fact that she called this man stupid to his face. She also said in her confessional how he has these low standards. And I'm like, Natasha is a whole attorney out here. Cut it out. And one thing that I will say that I respect about Tony is that he was not about to let Morgan just be so disrespectful to Natasha. Like, no, she's a beautiful woman. Like, she's a good woman. Like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But Morgan did not want to hear it. I mean, it was to the point where when he said, she's a beautiful woman, she's like, she's not. I'm like, you are the worst. You are so jealous. You are so envious of other women that, like, girl, ain't nothing good gonna come to you. Because the way you have so much vitriol for this woman, all because she slept with Tony, girl, are you gonna chase down every ex that he ever slept with? Please know that he could be possibly sleeping with somebody else as well that you don't know of, who has nothing to do with the show, because again, y'all are not in a committed relationship. And again, you guys, this was Morgan trying to control the conversation when she was like, yep, you gotta keep it moving, keep moving forward. She didn't want this man to say anything good about Natasha. I'm like, you are too controlling, girl. I want Morgan off this show. I'm so sick of her. I want her and Tony to walk away from each other and let's no longer have to talk about them. Let me just go ahead and move on. Y'all, we get this date with Jeffrey and Mark Anthony. And this is where we finally realize that we're not a match. So Jeffrey basically lets Mark Anthony know that, while they were on the trip, the getaway, she could not split her time up between Andre and Mark Anthony. She's realized that she wants to move forward with Andre, and also the fact that Mark Anthony, he has never even dated any woman with kids. He don't want a woman with kids, to be honest. It just wasn't going to work. According to Mark Anthony, he was still very attracted to Jeffrey because she is a beautiful woman. And it just wasn't going to align for them. And I'm just like, I'm glad y'all finally realized this. But we could have realized this a solid 4 or 5, maybe 8 episodes ago. Or whenever Mark Anthony came in. We could have realized this long time ago. Alright, so now we actually have Mark Anthony meeting up with Mercedes. She's going to have a Zoom call with his cousin. Everything was going pretty well. It seemed like they were vibing. The cousin actually liked Mercedes. The only thing that stuck out was the fact that at some point Mark Anthony may want to move back to New York. He actually is from New York, and that's probably where all the rest of his family is. And there's a possibility that he wants to move there. Now, according to Mercedes, she's like, a long distance relationship is a lot of hard work. And, she would try to make it work, but it does make her a little anxious about it because it's bad enough baby girl's already flying all over the world and she has her own hectic schedule to deal with. But then also with your partner being miles and miles away, not from your home base, that would probably be a lot. So Mercedes being the type of person that she is, I feel like Mercedes would probably really think things through before making a decision of really trying to build something with Mark Anthony. But honestly, I feel like they are the fun young couple on this show. So I would not be surprised if they are just kind of like oh, you in town, come see me, or whatever. We not really official, but we kicking it. That's the vibe I kind of get from them at this point. Maybe further down the line, they'll be in a committed relationship, but I feel like those two just want to have fun, to be honest. Now let's go ahead and talk about Anthony and his date with Cynthia. He sets up a really nice beach date for her. I mean, it even got to the point where baby boy was rubbing her feet. I'm like, okay, I can definitely see them being together, especially once they were talking about, how life would be with them, because she knows what it's like to raise kids. He knows what that's like to raise a daughter. They're balancing their work life as well as spending time with each other. So clearly, I feel like her choice needs to be Anthony. Okay? All right, y'all. Now let's go ahead and get to the men's lounge, because another place where I was annoyed. So the men go around talk about how their family met with the ladies, blah, blah, blah. I do not care about that. Let's talk about this whole Morgan and Tony situation, because now Tony has to tell Tommy about how he hooked up with Natasha. According to Tommy, that's against the rules for them to go out on dates with former contestants. And I'm just like, sir, these people are grown. The only way y'all gonna stop them from actually going out on dates is if you put them on a resort like you did that one season, which would make this show make so much more sense. But nonetheless, here's the thing. I hate the fact that Tommy, he tried to drag it out of Tony because Tony wasn't really trying to say like, oh yeah, I had sex with Natasha. Oh, but Tommy, he had to keep pushing it. You were what with her? You were doing what with her? Go ahead and let me know. And he has to basically say, like, I was intimate with Natasha or whatever. And I'm like, this is embarrassing. Why does he have to tell you this in front of every man on this show right now? I was disgusted. I was absolutely disgusted with this scene. And if I was Natasha, I would feel some type of way. So by the end of this episode, it's up to Andre. Andre is the one who has 2 connections left. So he has to figure out, does he want to, rock with Cynthia, or does he want to rock with, what's her name? Jeffrey. So he actually ends up meeting up with Cynthia. And they have a cool little discussion, and he couldn't let her go. And I'm just like, what do you mean let her go? The only thing he was going to say is that, you're not for me, but she still has Anthony. So it's not like she was about to go home. I just feel like his choice is definitely going to be Jeffrey. So I don't understand why we're pretending like it's not. Nonetheless, y'all, that was my review. I don't want to talk about this anymore. We are so close to the end of this season, thank God, and then let's get to the reunion. Y'all, let me know what y'all thought about this episode, though. Do y'all feel like Natasha should be able to take some type of legal action on this show? Because I know I do. But let me know what y'all thought about the whole Natasha situation. What do y'all think about Morgan and her shenanigans? Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.